In this video, we are going to write a task 2 response to a question seen recently on the IELTS. The question reads, some people think that the government should invest money in arts and culture, while others believe the government should spend money on more important things. Discuss both views and give your opinion. You can see below a few notes I quickly made to myself after reading the question to help prompt me as I write this essay out. So firstly, like all IELTS essays, the response is very likely going to be 4 paragraphs in length. So we can already be prepared for that. The instruction words request we discuss both views, so we know we are going to use a discussion essay approach, and that means declaring both points of view in the introduction and then analyzing them in turn in the body paragraphs. An optional link we might tack to the end of each body paragraph is an acknowledgement of merit if our writing progresses in a way that makes it appropriate to do so. I usually try to declare at least one merit for each point of view and then perhaps reveal any disadvantages to a point of view while comparing them in the second body paragraph or in the conclusion paragraph. While I'm brainstorming and creating these quick notes, I try to make note of any relevant example that comes to mind that could be used in the body paragraphs. If I can't think of one, I will start the writing process and then hope that something will come to mind as I get to the body paragraphs. And if I can't think of anything in that moment, then I will just make up an example, which is a strategy that can help save you some time in the exam. I think the Beijing Opera could play a good example of how government funding of arts and culture can be helpful to a country for 2 reasons. One is it encourages the soft power of the country, and it also helps to create a sense of identity. And I'm going to look at both of these points as I flesh this essay out. In the second body paragraph, I will share an example of a painting that was purchased for the National Art Gallery in Canada, but unfortunately it displeased the public. So this paragraph should show some healthy contrast between the 2 points of view and should help lead the essay towards its conclusion in the 4th paragraph. Now actually, before I even start writing the essay, I already have a clear sense of what the conclusion is going to be. I feel that it would be impossible to prescribe a set rate of spending for all governments when it comes to arts and culture. So I know now that I'm going to conclude this essay by recommending that the many differences and nuances between nations means they are best to decide what spending is most appropriate for them. But remember that the nature of this essay as a discussion essay dictates an objective approach. So I'm not going to declare this position until the very end of the essay in this conclusion paragraph. Now you can see that in these notes I've included a few phrases. You can see that these sentences are kind of stock-ish phrases. I mean, of course you want to adapt them to your own writing, but they're very common to discussion essays in general, so it's sometimes helpful to have a few of these in mind that you can tailor to the needs of your essay. So these items and the quick notes that I've pulled together here should help accelerate us through the writing process, and in creating a plan like this, it also helps ensure the essay has a strong sense of cohesion and faithfulness to the essay question. Just having some overarching plan like this can help move your essay towards quality. Okay, so I'm going to start fleshing out the essay. So I'm just going to delete these points as we move through them here. So the first thing we want to do is deliver a sort of broad statement on the topic that we can narrow to the 2 points of view. So I'm just going to quickly read the question to myself again. So some people think the government should invest money in arts and culture, while others believe the government should spend money on more important things. Discuss both views and give your opinion. Okay, so so we might want to say something about that the nature of how governments use money is an often debated topic, right? Just to sort of ease us into the essay. So the manner in which a nation decides how to use public funding is, and let's just use that, an often debated topic. Okay. And then we want to get into declaring the 2 points of view. So maybe for some, providing financial support to a nation's arts and culture is seen as healthy, or I'm going to say necessary. However, others feel this money is best spent elsewhere, let's say. Okay, so that's the 2 points of view that we have declared, right? So when the examiner reads this, they're very clear on the 2 positions that are going to be looked at. Now we want to finish this introduction paragraph with a very clear statement of how we're going to approach this issue or this discussion, and that's where this sentence fits in. So this essay will analyze both opinions before a reasoned conclusion is reached, and of course you can switch this sentence around any way you need. So perhaps you could say something like before arriving at a reasoned conclusion, and then take out is reached. We could change analyze to examine. We could change opinions to points of view. So let's go to the first body paragraph. Okay, I noted to myself one way to start the paragraph. So we're going to look at the first point of view, which is providing financial support to a nation's arts and culture is seen as necessary. So as many argue, let's say fostering a nation's arts and culture is a wise use of government funding. Okay, now, as I mentioned, we're going to look at the Beijing Opera, and we're going to look at 2 positive outcomes of funding the traditions of the Beijing Opera. So let me just stick that in here really quickly. So there are several, let's say, several merits to this position. So the first point is that funding the Beijing Opera and preserving it helps to promote the traditions of China, and it gives people sort of a historical window to look through into the traditions of the nation. So we could say something like, for one, financially supporting the arts can help establish or solidify maybe historical record and understanding, let's say. So for one, financially supporting the arts can help solidify historical record and understanding. And now we want to use our example of the Beijing Opera. So in China, for example, let's say that a lot of money is used to preserve the Beijing Opera. So let's say a tremendous amount of money is spent every year to preserve and promote the traditions of the Beijing Opera. And then just mention about giving people a window, as I was saying, or sort of some historical perspective. These efforts give modern people a window into the past. Okay. This encourages worldwide, let's say, worldwide understanding of China and its history, let's say. And you know what? I can connect these together. Just, I think it'll help the sentences flow a bit better. So far it reads, as many argue, fostering a nation's arts and culture is a wise use of government funding. There are several merits to this position. For one, financially supporting the arts can help solidify historical record and understanding. In China, for example, a tremendous amount of money is spent every year to preserve and promote the traditions of the Beijing Opera. These efforts give modern people a window into the past, and this encourages worldwide understanding of China and its history. Okay, so that's positive point number one. That results from government spending in arts and culture. Now, the second thing that I thought about in planning for this essay is that it helps to create a sense of identity for people, which can have a stabilizing effect. And that might be helpful to very large countries like China. So maybe we could say something like another benefit. Okay, now please notice these little bits that add in, cohesion. It's not just a benefit; it's another benefit. It links to the progression that came before it. So another benefit is, let's say, the manner in which a strong arts and culture scene promotes national identity, let's say. I'm just going to switch the manner just because we used it at the beginning of the essay. So another benefit is the way in which a strong arts and culture scene promotes national identity, encouraging people to collectively identify with the historical art and culture produced in their nation establishes just we'll say peace and stability, or helps to establish peace and stability. And let's just point out that this is helpful to large countries like China and large countries like China. Another benefit is the way in which a strong arts and culture scene promotes national identity, encouraging people to collectively identify with the historical art and culture produced in their nation, establishes peace and stability in large countries like China. Okay, and then I'm just going to tack on our... so the advantages of this point of view are very clear, which fits fine. Okay, now in the second body paragraph, we want to look at the opposing point of view and include any bits of language that can show comparison between the two, which will help generate an organic sense of conclusion when we get to the fourth paragraph. So in this body paragraph, other people, however, feel... So we're saying that government spending on arts and culture is wasteful, and I was going to use the example of that painting from my home city. So other people, however, feel such spending, okay, and once again, these little bells and whistles that show your examiner that you're able to write with a sense of cohesion. So such spending is sort of with reference to the spending that we've been talking about earlier. So on arts and culture, such spending on arts is wasteful, let's say, and neglects nations' more pressing needs. Okay, so other people, however, feel such spending on arts and culture is wasteful and neglects a nation's more pressing needs. Okay, so the example, for example, let's just switch up here. For instance, an art gallery in my home city of Ottawa once spent over $1 million on a large painting that displayed varying shades of white. And it's important to point out that most people felt this was a rather boring painting and a rather wasteful use of government funding. So I'm just going to stick in here a piece most people described as dull. Okay. For instance, an art gallery in my home city of Ottawa once spent over $1 million on a large painting that displayed varying shades of white, a piece most people described as dull. Local residents found this, we'll say it was municipal. I'm going to use the word municipal. It was probably national spending, but municipal move distasteful. Let's see. Irresponsible. So, and irresponsible. Irresponsible. And I want to say that they felt this way because the money could have been used elsewhere. So maybe given the fact that the money could have been put towards social projects like, and then just fill in the blank with anything really, like homeless, or maybe like helping the homeless find steady employment. Okay. Okay, and then we can finish it there with this phrase. It is thus understandable why many are proponents of this point of view. And as I was saying, these are kind of stock phrases, but you can adapt them as you need. So we could change this to, I don't think we've used the word support anywhere. We could say maybe supporters of this point of view or this position, or these phrases just help to create a sense of unity between the different paragraphs and a sense of closure to the position that we're analyzing in this paragraph. So you can see a very objective look at the two sides. We've shared something positive, at least one thing positive for each side. There is a bit of comparison. We haven't shared our personal opinion on any of it yet, and we're going to get to that in the conclusion paragraph. But as I was saying, my feeling on the matter is that you can't really say one way or the other, how governments should use money, whether they should absolutely not put any spending into arts and culture, or whether they should commit a lot of it to arts and culture, because it's going to be different depending on the country's needs. So that's what we're going to say here in the fourth paragraph. Now, I've already noted to myself, declare that it is impossible to prescribe a set spending pattern for all governments, and conclude that nations are best to decide on spending rates and amounts for themselves. So that's what we're going to plug in here. Now we want to make reference to the discussion that has taken place. So let's say the above discussion illustrates how the mild differences or nuances between countries make it, let's say, I'm just going to even use what I put here in my notes, make it impossible to prescribe a set spending pattern for all governments. And I might just put in here recommend, just a little change there. So the above discussion illustrates how nuances between countries make it impossible to recommend a set spending pattern for all governments. Okay, and then our final note is just that nations are thus best to fund their arts and culture in accordance, let's say, to their specific needs. Okay. I might just to demonstrate to the examiner some different language. So nations are thus best to channel funding to their arts and culture in accordance to their specific needs. Anyways, okay, so that wraps up the essay. Now you can see that, as I was saying, it's a very clear, very objective point of view. There are lots of instances of cohesion, which creates a nice flow to the entire essay and a good sense of linking between its various parts. It's faithful to the question throughout. And let's give it a final read. And I'm going to read the question as well. So some people think that the government should invest money in arts and culture, while others believe the government should spend money on more important things. Discuss both views and give your opinion. The manner in which a nation decides how to use public funding is an often debated topic. For some, providing financial support to a nation's arts and culture is seen as necessary. However, others feel this money is best spent elsewhere. This essay will examine both points of view before arriving at a reasoned conclusion. As many argue, fostering a nation's arts and culture is a wise use of government funding. There are several merits to this position. For one, financially supporting the arts can help solidify historical record and understanding. In China, for example, a tremendous amount of money is spent every year to preserve and promote the traditions of the Beijing Opera. These efforts give modern people a window into the past, and this encourages worldwide understanding of China and its history. Another benefit is the way in which a strong arts and culture scene promotes national identity. Encouraging people to collectively identify with the historical art and culture produced in their nation establishes peace and stability in large countries like China. The advantages of this point of view are thus very clear. Okay, now we flipped around and look at the other side. Other people, however, feel such spending on arts and culture is wasteful and neglects a nation's more pressing needs. For instance, an art gallery in my home city of Ottawa once spent over $1 million on a large painting that displayed varying shades of white, a piece most people described as dull. Local residents found this municipal move distasteful and irresponsible, given the fact the money could have been put towards social projects like helping the homeless find steady employment. It is thus understandable why many are supporters of this position. And again, as you read through your essay and you check it, you might actually want to add in certain things. So I'm going to stick in here alternative position. Now, the final paragraph. The above discussion illustrates how nuances between countries make it impossible to recommend a set spending pattern for all governments. Nations are thus best to channel funding to their arts and culture in accordance to their specific needs. And this word makes a very nice link back to the sentence and all of the discussion that has happened prior. So our conclusion is very much a result of the discussion that we've demonstrated here. So I hope that quick video was helpful, and don't forget to note some of the language you see here in your journal and review it. Don't just watch this video and then walk away from it and not take anything from it. There are lots of good instances of linking language, good demonstration of a variety of vocabulary, and this is a very relevant topic because this question was seen recently on the IELTS. So get that journal out, make some notes, perhaps try writing this essay out word for word, right? Just copy it from the screen, write it out word for word, try to produce it from memory, and then try to adapt some of the language items and play around with them so that you can become more familiar with accurate grammatical and lexical structures and start using these structures in your own writing. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you next video.